to the main part of today's episode, which is watching the freaking humiliation suffered by Piers Morgan at the hands of Mohammed Hijab. And I'm doing that because of, Hamas.
I know we've said it before. Where's the K in Hamas?
No,
where is it?
If there's a K in Hamas, where is the K in like hamburger? Why is it ham? Why is it ham and not ham? Why is it hammer and not hammer? Why is it
so many
hard and not hard? You know what I'm saying?
I guess that one depends on who you're talking to.
I'm saying H-A-M, whatever. M's giving me the look that she's had enough of my digressions and would like me to, for the love of God, get into it. Because she hasn't seen it, and I have. Let's watch it. Oh. Okay, and then after this, I have a crazy video to show you.
What I'd like this to be is a civilized debate between two people with very strong opinions about this.
Wherever we see suffering, wherever we see death and destruction.
I don't understand. Yeah, you can turn down your volume for listening to it. Then turn it up. It's individually controlled.
Yeah, but it's turned up all the way hidden.
Assault, sexual assault. We see Dershowitz to the rescue. The former defense attorney of Jeffrey Epstein.
Mohammed, attacking a lawyer for defending people is a stupid argument.
You're not looking at me when I'm speaking to you.
What's this got to do with Israel?
This shows you the bias in the coverage.
You're talking complete bullshit.
You should be arrested without charge if you're held for a security reason.
Pathetic. I'll tell you what, let me ask the question.
Sure, go ahead.
And you guys try and debate it.
Why is this uncomfortable?
It's nothing to do with the debate. Why are you doing this, Mohammed?
Why not?
Because it's pointless. Well, if you didn't want to do a debate, don't agree to do it.
What's wrong with you? Why are you not looking at me again? You're crying. Are you crying?
No tears in my eyes. Is there any point in continuing? The events of the past year have shattered stability in the Middle East. Israel's war on Hamas, provoked by the atrocities of October the 7th, have led to the deaths of tens of thousands of innocent Palestinians. Prime Minister Netanyahu promised total victory and the complete destruction of Hamas. But 1 year on, Hamas is still firing rockets at Tel Aviv. 1 year on, 97 hostages remain in Hamas captivity. Very clearly, Israel's not fulfilled its stated aims in this war, and it continues to add new ones. It's now at war in Lebanon and on the precipice of a direct conflict with Iran. It has no plausible exit strategy in Gaza, where millions live in grief and under occupation. But it has, without question, decimated Iran's client militias. Hezbollah, the jewel in Iran's crown, has been decapitated. The question is whether that makes the Middle East and the world a safer or a more dangerous place. Can it really be said that Israel is winning this war? How big will this war get? And how much collateral damage and suffering can the world tolerate? Before enough is enough. This debate will examine the legality, the morality, and the sustainability of the conflicts in the Middle East. Joining me are two of our most passionate advocates for their cause: the Muslim philosopher, scholar, and YouTuber Mohammed Hijab, and the lawyer and author Alan Dershowitz. Well, welcome to both of you. Mohammed, you've been on twice before, Alan many times. What I'd like this to be is a civilized debate between two people with very strong opinions about this, obviously very different opinions, where we try and reach potentially some points of agreement. Because so often with these debates, that seems almost impossible. It descends into a shouting match, everyone gets ad hominem, everyone digs ever deeper into their trench, their tribe, and we don't get anything constructive out of it. I think you guys are smart enough to potentially through spirited and passionate debate, agree about some stuff. And that is surely the first basis for how any of this eventually gets resolved. So let's hope for the best. Prepare for the worst and hope for the best, as they say. Alan Dershowitz, let me start with you. Israel, it seems to me, in the last 3 weeks have massively ramped up their military offensive in a way that says to me that Prime Minister Netanyahu and his cabinet sense an opportunity to completely, in their eyes, sort out the Middle East problem once and for all, with Iran at the center of that problem. Is that how you see this?
Yes, I do. I see Iran as the head of the octopus sending out its tentacles through the Houthis, through Hamas, through Hezbollah. The tragedy, as we celebrate's a bad word, commemorate October 7th, is that if Sinwar and Hamas had the opportunity to do it again, knowing everything that followed,
Okay.
Something that really frustrates me and I don't understand is when people just start to mention that Iran's involved now, but nobody looks back to see where this conflict historically began and how it began for it to get to the point where other countries are like, clearly, you're leaving nobody any options. We can't watch you commit a mass genocide of an entire civilization.
Yep. And it is in their own vested interest to not discuss what the context is, because they know that that's not a conversation that they can
Facilitate.
that they can win.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I'm a little distracted. This volume audio issue that was a non-issue up until like a minute ago is pissing me off to no end. So
We're good.
huh? No. It's just that you can't see it on that screen, but I keep getting these like
I understand.
notification like error thingies here, and it's just yeah. No, I get it, but I can't participate. So give me 1 second. Yeah, I'm not having a great time either. So just
You know what's also crazy while we're doing this, something that I really quickly wanted to touch upon that's not related to this is Hurricane Milton. Have you seen the absolute damage that that's caused? There are 3 million people currently that have no power and electricity.
3 million?
3 million!
Damn, that's all of Toronto.
Really?
I'm pretty sure Toronto's like 3 point something mil.
No way.
I swear.
The fact that we need an entirely new category for this storm is crazy. And also, I'm very interested to know how the government helps these people.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And a follow-up?
knowing
No climate change?
all the death.
1 sec. All right, tell me now.
Deaths and disasters in Gaza and in Lebanon.
You all right?
No, something weird is going on. Whatever. You know what? It is what it is. I'm going to start it over because I was not able to listen to the whole thing with you last time. And yep. That's how you want to be. That's how you're going to be then, I guess. You mother lover. We're all good. Everybody's good. Everyone's good. Everyone's happy. Okay.
Lebanon. I think Hamas would do it again, would do October 7th again, because
this cannot be real life. You know that I'm not muted, so I can still hear everything.
But can you do that?
Sure.
Just move that ear and let's do it again.
They think they've won. They've turned college and university students against Israel. They have solidified the United Nations opposition.
I'm going to rewind now.
Maybe just pass the introduction. We don't need to hear the little clippets.
Okay. The clip it thingy was like a little taste of how things are going to go. And now we can get to it. 1 second.
Celebrate's a bad word. Commemorate October 7th is that if Sinwar and Hamas had the opportunity to do it again, knowing everything that followed, knowing all the deaths and disasters in Gaza and in Lebanon, I think Hamas would do it again, would do October 7th again, because they think they've won. They've turned college and university students against Israel. They have solidified the United Nations opposition to Israel. They've divided Americans, particularly the Republican administrations in the past, from the current Democratic administration. So Hamas cannot be allowed to have a victory growing out of October 7th any more than ISIS should have been allowed to have a victory going out of 9/11. So
This is that bullshit, right? Mentioning ISIS when you mention Hamas, just so that you can try to draw some sort of correlation between the two.
Yeah, first of all, ISIS was the construction of the U.S. government. Let's just open up the history there.
And they don't want to contextualize that either.
No.
That's
Second
why
of
is
all,
that?
I have to say something. Something hilarious to me was how he's talking about Hamas destroying other countries. Was I right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Wait, did he say he said that? He said that?
Yeah, Hamas creating tensions in other countries and creating.
I think growing out of October 7th any more than ISIS. So Hamas cannot be allowed to have a victory growing out of October 7th any more than ISIS should
have been allowed to have a victory. But I don't know if he said it here, but I know that that's something that they say.
Okay, secondary point then. Who gave ISIS weapons and who's giving Hamas weapons?
Hamas is getting weapons from Iran, but ISIS weapons are American.
That's the point I'm trying to make, that they're all American. So maybe you should do your research before you go on to an interview and use this to support your,
Yeah, because here's the problem. When you refuse to contextualize things, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to do a stream like this, because we're learning about stuff, right? And as we're learning about it, it is opening my eyes so much. And looking at something like this, looking at an interview like this now, learning that America is the one that created ISIS, learning about the frigging lies that brought around invading Iraq in after 9/11, the war on terror, the weapons of mass destruction. And the thing is, somebody like Alan Dershowitz, he knows this stuff. He knows it better than most. And to just come on TV and pretend that ISIS is the product of Iran and not the frigging direct product of America going around the world and playing around with other people's countries. When a country has a plan to do something, America will, if they don't like the plan because it might change how we enjoy things in the West, they will go and fund a radical group and then point to that radical group and say, oh my gosh, we need to go save them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Frigging hell. And he knows that. And now he's like, oh my God, they're going to become, oh my God, let's keep it going.
have been allowed to have a victory going out of 9/11. So
gonna play it on 1.5.
I think the answer is yes, a military defeat for Iran and its surrogates, and a peace process between Israel and Saudi Arabia with steps taken toward the recognition of a two-state solution, which is the only reasonable solution that will solve the problem. But remember,
he's saying a two-state solution is going to solve the problem, but ain't none of Palestine left for this whole two states. Palestine is going to be a patchwork of little plots of farms, and they think that's enough to call something two states.
that October 7th was stimulated by the desire to prevent Israel and Saudi Arabia from creating a peace process following up from the Abraham Accords. And unless that peace process continues, and unless Hamas is told, no, you failed, the world will not reward you for this, we're just going to see a continuation of the bloodshed in the Middle East.
Okay, so he's telling a half-truth here, and I'll explain it really quickly. The Palestinian cause was being forgotten, right? Because people were just getting used to the tragedies that were happening there. And one of the ways that we know it was being forgotten is because Arab countries were trying to do something called normalization with Israel. And if you're like, oh, what the hell is normalization? Well, it means that they're going to go outside and say, I acknowledge that Israel is a place and a country and all that stuff. And then that means that we can open up trade together, right? So I buy a little from you buy a little from me, I scratch your own. You know, we can have that relationship now, that normal relationship that countries that are not beefing with each other can have.
There's something so off-putting to me seeing any Arab country support Israel knowing what they're doing. And that's also when I bring up the fact that your religious nations are not very religious at all.
Well, let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there for a second. Because the sentiment that you're describing is one that I used to feel a lot, but I've learned recently, and because you guys, I'm not just Googling stuff, okay? I'm putting in the work, I'm buying the books, I'm doing absolutely everything that I can to make sure I'm learning facts. The Sunni and Shia conflict is something that America and Israel love to see and encourage seeing that infighting.
Understandably, you want to create divide between the people themselves as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is coming out of documents. I don't even have to say leaked, because the Zionist entity is so proud. And when I call it the entity, I mean everything. The Zionist government, leadership, employees, the Israel lobby, the support, the tentacles of it. They are so proud of what they're doing, and they're so confident that the backing of America is essentially just a shield against everything, that they don't actually shy away from saying stuff out loud.
Yeah, you know what? I was watching an Al Jazeera documentary the other day, and somebody said Israel is probably one of the most honest countries about what they're doing, actually.
I swear to God. So, and that's one of the most shocking things
it
to
is,
me,
yeah.
Because I'm not a political pundit, but I'm learning in a matter of months what these people have studied for decades, and instead of confronting the truth, the sensational and scandalous truth of Israel's reality, which would be newsworthy, which would be something that you can tune into every day. Hey, look, this democracy that gets a bunch of money from us is actually a horrible place. Why do they turn away from it? Why do they allow someone like Alan Dershowitz to come on and tell something that's such an obvious lie? Why is that story better? Why is it better to hear the story that the Arabs and the Muslims are the evil ones? And you have to ask yourself that question once you start discovering how dishonest political discourse in the West is.
Oh,
and I'm in Toronto, Canada. But we have a huge vested interest in American news because so much of our news is purchased by Americans.
Also, whatever happens down there is going to hit us pretty hard. It's always good to be in the know.
We are... I'm embarrassed about how Canada just cannot... let's not go down that road. Oh, looks like we got somebody else in the chat. Let me go ahead and acknowledge that. Lobo Mao says, only thing he destroyed was his reputation as a scholar and debater. He was horrible, resorted to personal attacks, was obnoxious, rude, arrogant, uncivilized, a bully, impatient, aggressive.
Coming down to the point we made earlier that not everybody can have a debate. If you
everything that they listed there is facts. He has humiliated himself go ahead with the debate lawyer thing. You don't have to be talented to have a debate. That what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I can't. Sorry, the point that I was making, that it comes down to a skill. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because not everybody can keep their emotions in check and not make it a personal attack on the other person.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's funny that you're saying that, because Mohammed is going to make this entire thing a personal attack, and I'm going to lick my fingers the entire time, because Piers has been allowing this for ages, hasn't he? He's been just like, oh, say anything you want about Arabs, say anything you want about Hamas, say anything you want about these people, and you have on your guest is what? The lawyer for Jeffrey Epstein. Ooh. And he said what? That I'm proud to have represented him.
Back it up. This is the lawyer for...
This is going to be the theme of this video. Trust me.
I didn't know that. I didn't know Alan.
I know. Oh, you didn't know that Alan Dershowitz did? Okay, so...
I'm learning
one of the reasons that Lolo Mao left that comment that she did was because Alan Dershowitz has essentially disgraced himself as a lawyer. He has been credibly accused of plagiarism by none other than Norman Finkelstein.
Oh my goodness!
Okay. Him and Norman Finkelstein have a huge beef, and we go hard for Norman on this side.
We really do. Yes, we do.
He's one of the reasons Norman lost tenure.
Oh,
he's one of the main reasons. And in this episode, he's going to lie about why Norman lost tenure, which is so upsetting, because Piers has had Norman and Alan on the show, and they talked about it. So when everybody knows that Norman Finkelstein has an unbesmirchable character. Mm-hmm. He is somebody who has put in the work. He is a foremost scholar on what's going on in Palestine, and he is the son of Holocaust survivors. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean just like they were in Germany and in the work camps, which was already a horrible situation. These people were in his parents were in the concentration camps, mm-hmm. the horrible camps. So when he was younger and was, starting into this whole Palestine thing, his parents gave him their support. And obviously they're not with him anymore. And he has a brother and a sister that he goes to often for spiritual guidance when he brings up his parents, because he never wants to dishonor their memory. And the dad so and the brother said that the mom would be outside like, oh, like, fuck all those. So but Alan has regularly said, "Oh, your parents would be ashamed of you. You're like a Holocaust denier. He's like, you're doing."
And see, that's where even if you're a scholar and even if you're a professional, you prove in that moment that you should not have your position at all.
One of the most shocking things that I'm learning as I'm reading into the Israel-Palestine conflict is how poorly Holocaust survivors are treated. They are the kind of the weapon that they use, the political weapon that they use, but there is a deep shame in the Israeli Jewish community that's been written about and talked about, a deep shame about what happened, because if you get beat up, you just feel ashamed. Yeah. Right? And this is a Holocaust, and everybody you love died, and everything that you had wasn't enough. And there's obviously a huge amount of generational trauma. Absolutely. And part of that trauma is going to be a huge amount of shame. But unfortunately, the way this has manifested itself is that they kind of detest them. Like, why couldn't you do more? Type of thing. That's so fucked up. Yeah, but it's real. And a lot of Holocaust survivors live in poverty in Israel. And you would think... Oh, my God. And that's fact. We're going to do a video about that. And that's fact. And you would think that they would be living like kings and queens. That you would try to... knowing what they went through, knowing how their their history, their horrible past has given you the moral currency, to just go and get what you need, which is expedite the project that was Israel, right? That the Holocaust helped that. It was already a thing, but like it helped convince the world for the need for Jewish people to have like a state. And given that they went through something so unspeakably horrible that no people probably will ever experience, maybe the Palestinians, wouldn't you want to honor them by making sure every last minute of their life was as flawless as possible? Mm-hmm. But no, not only did they suffer at the hands of the Europeans, they're suffering at the hands of Israelis, who then have the nerve to wear fucking yellow pins to the UN, which is supposed to represent the Holocaust. It's really disgusting. And Alan and Piers know that. And that's what's fucking me up more than anything.
The interests of the Palestinians nor the Israeli people. And unless Hamas is told, no, you failed, the world will not reward you for this, we're just going to see a continuation of the bloodshed in the Middle East, which does not serve the interests of the Palestinians nor the Israeli people.
Okay, Mohammed Hijab, your response to that?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that wherever we see suffering, wherever we see death and destruction,
Here we go.
especially of young people, assault, sexual assault, we see Dershowitz to the rescue. The former defense attorney of Jeffrey Epstein, a man himself accused.
I knew we'd get to that. I didn't give
you permission to interrupt me.
Here's-
I
said no
stayed quiet when you were talking.
Now we're seeing the
here's what I
rule
would say.
being
I stayed
broken.
quiet when you were talking.
Hang on. Here's what I would
Let's
say.
stick to the merits
I didn't
and
give you
not get to
permission.
who I
Attacking-
defended in the
Listen,
past.
Mohammed, attacking a lawyer.
Aren't those
I
your
did not
merits?
give you permission, boy. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Just now? And now we're going to see the beginning of Piers do everything he can to defend Alan Dershowitz.
Okay.
Yes.
Defending people is a stupid argument.
Well, I'm not making an argument yet.
Wait, but you're just using that
I'm not making an
ad hominem
argument.
attack straight off the top.
Has he got leverage on you? Is that
No,
what
he's a
you're-
brilliant
You saw your
lawyer.
picture with Maxwell. He's got leverage on you.
He's a brilliant lawyer.
Are you saying that because he's got leverage
I
on
met
you?
Ghislaine Maxwell for 5 minutes at a book.
You look very happy with her.
I didn't know anything about her at the
You're
time.
very
I
happy
thought she
with
was the
her.
daughter of the man that
We're talking about the biggest sexual scandal in the last
who
100
I never met
years.
Jeffrey Epstein or ever knew him. Alan Dershowitz was wrongly accused of various things in relation to Jeffrey
How do you
Epstein.
know it's wrongly?
Because they've all
Why are
been
you defending him?
They all turned out to be nonsense. He won a court case
Why are you
about
looking
it.
at me when I'm speaking to you?
Well, it's
Hot in the collar.
There are 3 of us involved in this.
Yeah, you're speaking to me. So
Okay, let me make things clear. I never met Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
I met Ghislaine Maxwell for 5 minutes.
Yeah, you look very happy in that picture.
Okay, if you want to use that as an ad hominem
No, but
attack on me,
why you
a picture taken,
defending him?
hang on, a
Bro.
picture taken in 2013.
He spoke for 3 minutes, I spoke for 20 seconds.
I'm defending him because your first attack on him is to attack him as a lawyer
Yeah.
because he defends bad people.
That's fine.
Here's a little secret for you, Mohammed.
I also
All
defend-
lawyers do that.
I've also
No, but hold on, we're not talking about bad
I've
people. We're
also
talking about
defended-
Pause right there. Lawyers get to say that they don't feel comfortable working on the case as well. They
Lawyers can say no.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to take up the case of a child, and somebody with so much evidence behind it too.
And let me just say this. He was his friend for a long time before he was his lawyer. And then when all the allegations came out, a man who's been diddling kids, you're like, I got you. We're going to go to court and I'm going to...
Well, you know what they say, yeah? Birds of a feather.
Oh, you know what he said to himself? He said, I'm the best lawyer there is, and there's no way we're getting these secrets out. I imagine. Because I'm sure he has some dirt. Like Epstein had dirt on this guy.
Oh,
I
for
believe.
sure. Yeah, that's how these
Because
things
this
work,
guy's
right?
Quick to sue. He's
All
going
right.
to sue Mohammed.
Yeah.
So let me just say, this is just my opinions. You can sue me. I don't know what you think
Yeah,
you're gonna
free
get.
speech
You know what I
exists
mean?
here,
Like,
so.
I have a frigging Lush thing that you can return for a discount on your next purchase, but not much else.
Clinton,
You've had
I've
enough
also
speaking.
defended
You've had
many
enough
good
speaking.
people.
I'm talking about a person who, after the fact, said that he was proud to defend him after the allegations come out. You still want to? Do you condemn Dershowitz for what? For defending
No,
Epstein
I have defended,
and being proud
I have
of defending
defended
Epstein.
some of the
It's
best.
not for me to
I have
defend him.
defended some
All
of
I
the
can
best
tell you is
people in the
defend him.
world.
Okay, Alan, you
I
defend
helped
yourself.
No, why should he defend himself? I haven't even
Defend
spoken for
himself.
20 seconds.
Alan can defend himself.
Let me speak for more
I
than 20
helped to
seconds. I
defend
haven't even
Nelson
made my point
Mandela.
yet.
I helped to defend
It's a
Bill
2-on-1 now, is
Clinton.
it?
I've helped to defend
Bill
some of the greatest
Clinton?
people in the
Yeah,
world.
well,
I've also helped
John
to defend
Lennon,
some of
he
the worst.
defended. Is
I
that
never
terrible
justified.
crime?
He was not proud
I've
of
never
defending
justified.
John
You're
Lennon.
not making the case.
This is not a good look for
I am
Piers.
What's this
proud
got to
of
do
my
with
role
Israel?
as a
This has got
defense
to do with
lawyer,
the fact that this
just
man,
like-
the credibility
just
of
like
this man's
John
on the line.
Adams was
He defends
proud to
Israel on the one
defend
hand,
the
and on the
people.
other hand, he defends Epstein. I think the public should know this.
Do you want me to
And
play?
he's
Do you
proud.
want me to play the clips?
He's proud
Do you
of
want me,
it.
Mohammed, do you want me to play the clips of you
And I don't
that
know.
do the rounds
I
on
don't.
social media saying some very
No
inflammatory
problem.
things? Do you want me to?
Why are you not looking at me?
Because I'm looking
Why
at the
are you
three
not
of us.
looking at me? I'm right
You
here.
turn to me, then the viewers see me and you
Look at me, man to man.
Fine,
Look
I'll
at
turn
me, man
to
to
you.
man. Look at my eyes.
Yes, it's called
When
an
I'm
aesthetic
speaking
thing
to
for
you.
videos.
Okay, now the first thing I wanted to say was that this man's credibility is something which is shocking. That we're even entertaining.
What do you base it on?
On the fact that he actually defended Epstein, and after the fact, he said he was proud of it. He was in Epstein's vicinity. He was in Epstein's vicinity. He had a massage in his vicinity. This is the kind of person that we're having on the show defending Israel. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing is, in the first interaction where me and you were talking about October the 7th, we spent about 3 or 4 minutes actually talking about sexual assault allegations, if you remember that. And actually here, what we have is Israeli soldiers like Mir from Unit 100, and that's on The Guardian, it's on Sky News, it's on all these kinds of platforms, coming out, and there's videographic evidence of him raping another man. I haven't heard condemnation from you, and I don't expect to hear it from him who defended Epstein.
Pop
And
off.
this shows you the bias in the coverage for a year, where we know the ICJ have said that there's a plausible genocide.
You haven't been watching my show.
I think I have.
No, you haven't.
Have you spoken
You're
about me?
talking complete bullshit.
Okay, tell me why.
Okay.
First of all, when a host does that, it's so, ugh.
Piers is triggered.
Yeah, he's the way he's turning red shows you how triggered he is.
For me, when he just threw up his hands and was like, I don't care. I don't care. He's like, it's stupid.
And on the other hand, he defends Epstein. I think the public should know this.
Do you want me to play? Do you want me to play the clips?
He's proud of it.
Mohammed, do you want me to play the clips of you?
And I don't know.
And here's my beef, okay? There have been so many times where somebody starts off their rant, like Rabbi Shmuley, who will start off his rant, for example, when he was going at Candace Owens, and it was 5 minutes of just calling her whatever he wanted. Mm-hmm. And here you have somebody who Epstein is like universally detestable,
right?
Despised. Why wouldn't Piers use this as an opportunity to sit back and say, you know, Alan,
I want to hear what you have to say, actually.
But seriously, you should answer.
Yeah.
Because there's other times where he'll be like, wait, now hold on a second. I've just let them go on for 5 minutes insulting your very character to a cellular level. And why don't you respond? And now he's just like, no, stop. Why are you doing this? And that's not a good look. This is exactly what I was saying about Israel earlier. If you don't want people to pay attention to something that you're doing that's awful, don't make a big fuss about it. You know what I mean? Sit back and look like you're unbothered. Because Dershowitz is screwed. He's in court. He's quoted. But you, if there's no pictures out there of you, Piers, I don't know why you would get flustered for this.
Yeah.
He needs an ear mic, you know, for somebody in the back to say, like, lay off and calm down.
Saying some very inflammatory things.
Do you want me to? It's just shocking that we're even entertaining.
What do you base it on?
On the fact that he actually defended Epstein.
What I'd like this to be is a civilized debate between two people with very... What I'd like this to be is...
Jeffrey Epstein.
Mohammed, attacking a lawyer.
Against Israel. They have solidified the United...
Nothing about her at the time. I she was the daughter of the man that...
We're talking about the biggest sexual scandal in the last...
Who I never... First attack on him is to attack him as a lawyer because he defends bad people.
Also defended...
for 20 seconds. And in his vicinity. This is the kind of person that we're having on the show defending Israel. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing is, in the first interaction where me and you were talking about October the 7th, we spent about 3 or 4 minutes from Unit 100, and that's on The Guardian, it's on Sky News, it's on all these kinds of platforms, coming out, and there's videographic evidence of him raping another man. I haven't heard condemnation from you, and I don't expect to hear it from him who defended Epstein. But this shows you the bias in the coverage for a year.
Straight up.
We know the ICJ have said that there's a plausible genocide.
You haven't been watching my show.
I think I have.
No, you haven't.
Have you spoken about me?
You're talking complete bullshit.
Okay, tell me why.
Right?
Tell me why.
Because A, I did condemn what you've just talked about in a previous debate.
Good.
Right?
Dershowitz, do you condemn it?
Yes, of course. I condemn any rape of anybody and any assault on anybody who's in captivity.
And you also condemn the right of rape protests that took place in Israel. And you acknowledge that there's a problem in Israel with this.
They will be investigated. They will be fully investigated. They will be court-martialed.
Do you acknowledge that there's a problem in Israeli
society? If anybody is convicted of that, they deserve their punishment.
Do you acknowledge that
they will be fully investigated by Israel, so we will get back to you.
Mm-hmm. And we know what we're going to do, right? We're going to look real hard.
I have no compunction. I have no compunction condemning Hamas for anything that they've done. You've said that. You've asked me before, and I've told you before. I have no moral scruple. Neither do the majority of the Muslim world. I tell you now, anything that Hamas has done, we have condemned in the first instance. But we're not seeing the same level of coverage with Hamas as we are seeing with these people that are shoving rods up people's ass and raping people on videographic evidence. And you have 3,000 people. You talk about the hostages. You've got 3,000 people in essentially captivity, according to Human Rights Watch and B'Tselem, who are prisoners of war of Israel. And we're spending a fraction of the time speaking about them as compared to speaking about the hostages. This shows you the inherent bias.
There's no comparison. There's no comparison between innocent hostages who did nothing wrong and people who are being charged with criminal offenses.
They're not charged with criminal offenses. That's why you're meant to know better.
But they are charged with security offenses. But you can't compare.
They are arrested without charge.
You can't compare a 3-year-old baby.
They're not charged with criminal offenses.
Don't shout over each other. We can't hear the answer.
He's lying to the public.
Allow him to respond.
To somebody who's a member of Hamas.
Sorry,
Adam, we couldn't hear because he was shouting.
I was shouting. Say it again.
He says the 3,000...
I'm saying you can't compare a 3-year-old baby...
Alan, just to be clear, he said the 3,000 people he's talking about were all arrested without charge, and therefore they've not been charged with crimes. Your response to that?
Well, if they were, they should be released. Nobody should be arrested
Good
without
boy.
charge. If you're
Good
held
boy.
for security
So-
reasons...
Uncensored.
I was waiting for that.
Good boy?
Good boy.
There's no way a grown man's gonna call me a good boy.
Good boy.
Nah. On what? National or international TV at this point? Nah, bro. I better catch you outside.
You know what? Mohammed's been on the show before, and he's tired. He's tired like we're all fucking tired.
Yeah.
Everybody's fucking tired, okay? Of people coming on the show to pretend that they don't know what's going on. And you
I condemn sexual assault everywhere.
couldn't bring me one frigging person that you said was sexually assaulted on October 7th. Not one name that you can produce. Oh, the UN said there's a... Who is it? Because the only person that I ever heard a story about was that fake, constantly, undisputedly debunked New York Times story like screamed without words or whatever. And that one other girl who said that she felt like people's eye. Someone's at the door, and that's my doorbell.
Let me finish, please.
Who that?
We're recording.
All right. It's just a late crew member, but no, I'm lying. It's just a friend. Okay. I'm going to play. What was I saying? I forgot. I don't know. All right.
Trying to have a
Can I make my point,
I'll say
please?
what I like.
Can I make my point? Let me make my point. Great Britain.
Oh, I just want to make the one point because I do think it's relevant. This guy studied what he did last time and said, you know what? Fuck it. This is not a serious interview, and I'm going to go there and just mess with them. Because this is what Piers has been doing to people. And now he's getting a fucking spoonful of it, of his own medicine.
Can find tens of thousands of people without charges during the Second World War.
Two wrongs
the
don't
United
make a
States
right.
did the same.
Two wrongs don't
I
make a
was
right. Let's talk about
strongly
Hitler then.
opposed.
Let's talk about
Please
Hitler
let
then.
me make my point. I'm opposed to that. I wrote an article against
Good boy.
administrative detention. But you
Good.
can't compare that, no
Good.
matter how
Can you
bad
stop
it
this,
is.
Mohammed? It's
You
very
can't
very
compare
tedious
it
already.
to 3-year-olds being
Basic.
kidnapped, to people
listening to
being
this.
raped and murdered. You can't compare what happened on October 7th to what Israel has done
Yes, you
in
can't,
terms
because
of
on the one
securing
hand,
prisoners.
you've got
There's
30,000
no
people in there, and
comparison
you've
at
got
all.
about 100.
Stop
That's
interrupting
30
me,
times
please.
more. That's 30 times more. If you want us to take you seriously, if you want us to take this coverage seriously, if you want us to take Western media seriously, then let's, for God's sake, talk about proportionality as your favorite word. We're talking about 30,000 people detained in prisons on the one hand, and
love the
100 people
breathiness of his
who are
voice.
hostages. And yet we have managed somehow to spend way more time
Hang on, you
proportionally.
said 3,000 a minute ago. Which one is it? 3,000?
Sorry, 3,000. 3,000.
It's
Not
not
30,000.
30,000.
Not 30.
Okay, well,
3,000.
get your numbers right if you're going to make that claim.
Okay, I
Piers
misspoke.
is
That's not a problem.
mad.
That's not a problem. He spoke about Iran. Let me ask you a question.
Tell you what, let me ask the question.
Sure, go
and
ahead.
you guys try and
Go
debate
ahead,
it.
go
At the
ahead.
moment, Alan Dershowitz is being very civilized in the way he's debating.
sure you're gonna say that.
You're just
He
making
might have
ad
leverage
hominem
on you.
attacks and shouting all the
He's your
time.
friend.
No one can understand it when you
Have you
shout
met him
all the time.
before?
I know Alan well.
Oh, you know him well.
I respect him very much.
Oh, yes, you do.
He's one of America's top lawyers.
He's top lawyers.
Yeah, he is.
You're an unbiased person here on
An
Central.
unbiased person about Alan Dershowitz. What?
Does he have leverage on you, Piers Morgan?
There's no leverage on me.
You got picture with Maxwell.
Yes, we can lay
Did you go to the island?
No, I've never been to the island. I've never met Jeffrey Epstein.
Be honest.
I never spent more than 5 minutes with
Be
Jeffrey
honest.
Epstein. I've
You
answered
should see his
So what
face.
part of that
And
wants you
Joe's
condemn him
cracking
on
up.
that?
She's
never met Jeffrey
buckled.
Epstein. I never spent more than 5 minutes with
Be
Jeffrey
honest.
Epstein. I've answered you. So what part of that wants you?
Do you condemn him being on the island? He's your good
Ask-
friend.
You can ask
No, I'm
Dershowitz
asking you to condemn
about
him.
Jeffrey Epstein.
You had a massage.
He represented him.
He said he didn't take his shorts off.
Do you know what? None of
That's
this
what
has
he
got
said.
anything to do with Israel.
He said he didn't take his shorts off when he was getting a
Can you
massage.
stop, please, Mohammed?
Why is this uncomfortable?
It's nothing to do with the debate.
He's taking shorts off, but he's got his pants down now, hasn't he?
Can you stop it? What's the point?
He's offended one of the most obnoxious people in the last 100 years. Why should I
Because
stop him?
actually, what is going on right
should I
now
stop it?
in the Middle East is incredibly important.
Yes, and you have this man who's-
you are trivializing them. If you didn't want to do a debate, don't agree to do it.
Who said I'm not going to do a debate? I'm saying this person who's
Come on,
defending
make
Israel.
Stupid ad hominem attacks is pathetic.
Oh, okay. All right. He's your good friend. You want to defend him so much.
What are you talking about?
You're defending him.
Huh?
You're defending him. You're defending a monster.
I'm
Pervert. An old pervert.
He's not a pervert or a monster.
Why is he not? He knew Epstein. And for us, there's good information.
Why are you doing this, Mohammed?
Why not?
Because it's pointless. You may get a few
Okay,
clicks
ask
on.
your questions.
You might get a
Ask
few
your
clicks
questions.
on it. So what?
It's not.
Ask your questions.
Let me be very clear. It's not pointless. He just called me a pervert. He will be sued now.
There it is.
He'll be able to
It's
resolve
honest
this
opinion.
in a
He
court
has
of
to,
law.
like,
I
don't
guarantee
for me.
you that he will be sued.
In
for
my
calling me
understanding, you are a pervert
The woman
because
who
you are
falsely
acquainted with
accused
Jeffrey
me
Epstein.
has now withdrawn her
Sure, I've got my own defamation
accusation
case. I know the
and
law very well
acknowledged
here.
that
You
she
can't
may
threaten
have
me. You
confused
can't
me
threaten
with
me. I know the
somebody
law very
else.
well.
And
I
calling me
consider
a
you to be a
pervert
pervert
will
because of your
result
connection with
in
Jeffrey
a
Epstein.
defamation lawsuit
Sure,
in
I'm
an
ready for
American
it.
court
I'm
and in a
ready.
British
I'm ready
court.
for the
I
lawsuit.
assure you of that.
I believe
Let's
you
move
are
on to
an old
Israel
pervert.
now.
Let me move
We'll
on to the
resolve
debate.
this in
You're an old
court.
pervert.
Let's move on to
You're an old
Israel.
pervert.
It's really. Is there any point considering this?
Do you want to throw the towel?
No.
The court of public opinion is no longer the friend of the Zionist. And now they just have to go to the courts where they're buying the frigging judges.
What's the point?
Do you want
Not
to
doing the
throw the
debate
towel?
you were booked to do.
Do you want to go throw the towel?
You were not booked to
Do you
talk
want to give
about
up?
this.
Do you want to give up?
Let's debate the issues.
Let's talk about the issues. Let's talk
Come
about
on,
Iran. Let's talk about Iran.
Let's talk about Iran.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
Do you support Iran?
Okay, well, let me answer your question. Iran was attacked on April the 1st, right? It was attacked, the embassy of Iran was attacked in Syria by Israel. After that, on the first occasion, they then sent missiles and drones, correct? Now, my question to you is, does Iran have a right to defend itself? And if so, what is a proportionate response? Because you see, I've been having a moral quandary about the issue. Piers Morgan, what's a proportionate response for Iran?
I tell you what I think about Iran. I think Iran is an unbelievably nefarious place which has been fueling Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah
Does it have
for
a right to
many
defend
years
itself?
with a joint
Does it have a right to defend
joint ideology that they want to eradicate Israel in any way they can.
Okay, does it have
So
a right to
I
defend
think
itself?
Iran is one of the most despicable
Does it have a right to
regimes
defend itself?
in the world. I also think that right now the Iranian regime is in serious danger.
You look completely discombobulated.
What do you mean?
You're disheveled.
I'm telling you what I think of Iran.
I'm asking you, do they have a right to defend themselves? Do you think they have a right to
I need
defend
to
themselves?
watch. I'm gonna go
Well, I think
see.
you
I'm
answer the
gonna
question.
don't pause it. Don't
They're
pause it.
attacked. The sovereign nation was attacked. My question is, does it have a right to defend
Iran has been fueling
Isn't that the
attacks on
question you can
Israel
ask
now
me?
for what, 40
I've
years?
been having moral quandary about this. I've been having moral quandary about Iran.
Have you?
Yeah, moral quandary, yes. Moral quandary, I don't know. Do they have a right to defend themselves? And if so, what is the proportionate
You're
response?
supporting Iran, to be clear.
I'm asking you. No,
Are
I'm
you
not
supporting
supporting. I'm
Iran?
not supporting. I'm antithetical to many of these organizations for my own purposes. But my question
Do
to
you support the Iranian regime?
not unconditionally, but I support their
What
right.
conditions do you agree with them about?
Their right to defend themselves. You believe they have a right to defend themselves. themselves?
No, they're terrorists.
Oh, so they don't have a right to defend themselves? Iran does not have a right to defend itself?
They do, but they're not the ones.
So what is proportionate response?
They're not the ones.
What's the proportionate response?
Okay.
No,
Can I answer it?
You asked this question to the
You're just
people.
going to keep talking. Can I answer it?
What's the proportionate response?
The proportionate response to Iran is to stop them trying to destroy Israel through their proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas. What they've been trying to do for many years.
What is the proportionate response of Iran after the embassy was smashed and destroyed in Syria and 16 people were killed? What's the proportionate response?
Well, what about the proportionate response to everything Iran's done?
Which is against the Vienna Conventions.
What about the response to everything Iran
What
has
did
been
Iran do
doing?
to Israel? Who did they kill? Who did they?
They never killed anybody
Who
in
did they?
Iran. Excuse me, hold on.
Which Israeli civilian have Iran successfully targeted? Give me one name.
You don't think Iran's been responsible for any Israeli civilian dying?
I'm asking you to edify
What about
me.
the way they funded Hamas?
You can both
slaughtered
edify me.
1,200 people in Israel.
Iran in
October the
particular,
7th.
I'm talking about Hamas. We've spoken about Hamas at length.
But I can give you some
We're talking
specific
about Iran's
names.
old news. You're talking about
Let's let Alan respond.
Yes, go ahead. Who did they successfully target?
Well, let me respond.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
The Iranians have been found by an Argentine court to have been guilty of killing hundreds of Israeli and Jewish people in Buenos Aires. They killed Marines through Hezbollah. They were combatants. But the attack on the Israeli Cultural Center, the attack on the Israeli embassy, were attacks, according to the Argentinian judicial proceedings, attacks on Israel, entitling Israel to engage in response. Now, let me explain what proportionality means, because you're missing the point. Proportionality doesn't require that a country that's attack back in proportion. Proportionality only means that if you're going to attack a mixed target that has civilians and combatants, the ratio of civilians to combatants must be proportional to the military value of the target. And that's what Israel has been trying to do. But Iran has killed thousands and thousands of Israeli and Jewish civilians over the years. So to defend somehow Iran and saying that they were innocent, even the people who were killed, in the embassy were combatants who were legitimately killed as combatants.
What's an acceptable ratio for you?
So Iran has no right of self-defense against that. Israel was completely entitled to kill. Let me finish. Israel was entitled to kill any combatant that was hiding in an embassy building.
Hold on. You've just conflated two things. You've spoken about the Argentinian case, which there is not actual an independent international investigation on, number one. And then you've spoken about, we're thinking about 1st of April. Was that a response to Argentina? It was not a response to Argentina. When on the 1st of April, they bombed the Iranian embassy in Syria, they did not do so. They said that is a military base and that we're attacking. But we all know that in this country, for example, every single embassy has military attachés. They have military attachés. So if you go to the US embassy here in London, they have armed officers. Does that make it a viable target? Does it make the US embassy a viable target? The Russian embassy a viable target? This is clearly against the UN Convention. It's against the Vienna Convention. You cannot attack an embassy of another nation in another sovereign land. You cannot do that. And
so let me respond to that. Let me respond to that. Let me respond. It was not an embassy. It was an ancillary building being used as a military center to plan attacks against Israel. They used the pretext of it being a building somehow attached to an embassy. The evidence is very clear, and I'd be happy to have them bring a lawsuit and see if it can be resolved in a court of law. But Israel was entitled to regard who was killed. The people who were killed were military people who were planning attacks on Israel using an annex to a building to do it. Did that justify 3,000 rockets being sent into Israel and then 180 ballistic missiles being sent into Israel?
Have you made your point? Okay. The response is as follows. First of all, 16 people were killed officially, and of them, there were 2 civilians that were killed. So what you're saying is only military targets is flatly false, squarely false, barefaced lie. You're a liar, as you were a liar when you were defending Epstein. That's number one. Number 2 is, when you say that, okay, that was a response. When Iran then, on the 14th of April, responded with missiles, once again, how many casualties were there? How many casualties were there? 0. Just like there were 0 casualties when they responded recently in October. Not one person died except for one Palestinian, ironically enough, that was apparently killed in the October one. But in the April one, no one died. It was precise strikes at military bases. Number 2, you speak about this being a base. As I say now, if you look at Collins' dictionary right now, there's 2 aspects of what is a military base, vernacularly speaking. Number 1 is that there has to be weapons in that place, and number 2, that there has to be training of soldiers. This is usually understood as what is a military base.
That's just made up. Those are made up stories. There's no truth to that at all.
What's made up? Which part is made up?
There's no truth to that.
Let him respond.
The fact that you need weapons, for it to be a military base, that's just made up. You don't need weapons to have a military base. It can be a command center where they're planning attacks. That's just made up.
Let me finish. The
more you say, the happier I am.
Okay. What I'm saying to you is that if you look at almost every Western government embassy in the West and outside of the West, they have military attachés. You can fact check this. You can go online. You will see in the US embassy, in the French embassy, in the British embassy, military guards, people there that have their own weapons and guns. So according to you, that would be a military base. So are they then legitimate targets?
What happened in this case was they used an annex of a building
as a military base. Can we then contravene the Vienna agreements? Can we then conventions?
You don't know what you're talking about. You have no knowledge of international law or diplomacy law, the law of war.
You don't have one peer-reviewed work on international law. And Jimmy Carter, the former US president, said, you have no knowledge of Palestine. Don't speak to me about Palestine and its issues. Jimmy Carter, former president of the United States, as you acknowledge, written in your book, he says that you have no knowledge of the Palestine issue. Jimmy Carter said that. Don't speak to me
you want to hear something? It was in my book. In fact, it was in the back. It was in the back. It was the back cover of my book.
That's what you have knowledge of.
I've written 13 books.
Did you touch Virginia?
I've written 13 books on Israel.
Did you touch Virginia?
Some of which
did you touch her? Did you touch that woman?
Never heard of her. Never met her. Never met
Don't
her.
lie.
Never.
Don't lie to me. Did you touch that woman or not?
I'm telling you, I never met her, and she acknowledged
Did you
in
touch that
writing,
woman?
under oath,
Did you
that she
sexually
may
assault
have
her?
No
confused
knowledge
me
of
with
this case,
someone
do you?
else.
I'm
and
asking you a
terminated
question.
the
Repeat
case. So
it.
How are you
Seriously.
defending it? How do you not leverage
Because he
over
won
it?
a case. It was proven to be lies.
I'm asking
Why
a
are you
question.
doing this?
I'm asking a question.
This is not about Israel.
This is
You're trying to be a clever dude, but all you're doing is inviting a lawsuit from Anna, which you will get.
I'm ready for it.
You are?
Yeah.
Really?
I've got 4 defamation cases, all of which your friend Douglas Murray, I'm taking him to court.
Well, good luck with taking on Annan on this. Is all I would
I'm
say
ready
to
for
you.
him. Oh, you love him, don't you?
No, he just one case.
I just wonder what
defending himself.
I just wonder what leverage he has. Does he have any leverage on
God,
you?
this is pathetic, man.
I don't know why you keep defending
He's
him.
now
Why-
accusing
yeah,
me
yeah,
of
this is what we
supporting
found. So why are you
Piers
doing it
He's
now?
a
Morgan.
monster.
Right.
This man is a monster.
Well, why debate then?
Because I don't mind debating monsters, just like you don't mind debating monsters. We have that in common.
Do you want to finish the debate about the bigger picture or not?
I'm speaking about it. You guys are the ones rattled. I'm not
No
rattled.
one's rattled. We think it's
You're
pathetic.
both rattled.
We think it's pathetic because you don't understand what you're talking about.
Really, that's just an assertion, really, isn't it?
No, you're just trying to get your clicks on X, and that's fine.
Oh, is that
And
what you do?
nothing
Is there anything wrong with that?
No, you know what? Try and debate the issue.
You always brag about it, my
Try
friend.
and debate
You
the
brag about
issue.
it myself. We've got 1 million views, 2 million views. You talk about it all the time.
Anna, let me ask you something, which is about what Israel is doing.
This is getting so freaking funny.
At the heart of it, if you take the belief that Iran is the main target here, a lot of Israelis believe that Iran is really rattled and that Israel has a genuine opportunity to topple this regime. Do you think that is a likely eventuality? Is it a thing that Israel should be pushing to do?
I think if Israel has the military capacity to destroy Iran's nuclear abilities to create a nuclear arsenal and can do it with minimum civilian casualties, the way it did it in Iraq and the way it did it in Syria, it ought to do that. But if it risks a wider war, then obviously it has to take into account other considerations and the opinions of the United States. So it's largely a military question. Israel certainly has the right to destroy Iran's nuclear capacity. Rafsanjani, the former president of Iran, said if Iran developed nuclear weapons, they would use them against Israel, kill 3 million Israelis. Israel's a one-bomb state. That would be the end of Israel. And even if
See, something I really don't understand is why does Israel have the right to get rid of nuclear weapons of another country? And
Yep. And I'm coming back because I heard that shit too.
all right, we'll wait for you.
if Israel retaliated and killed 10 million Muslims in Tehran, the trade-off would be worth it. No country should ever accept that kind of a threat. The United States wouldn't. They didn't in the Cuban Missile Crisis, and Israel shouldn't as well. But it's a military decision, and I'm not competent to resolve whether Israel has the capacity to destroy Iran's nuclear ability without too many civilian casualties.
Okay, Mohammed, do you
That's
think
a military question.
Mohammed, do you think Hezbollah are terrorists or freedom fighters?
I have an antithetical view to Hezbollah, and that's been well documented in the record. However,
What's your view? I don't know.
Well, I tell you one thing. I'm not going to be baited into a sectarian debate here.
I'll ask you if you comment about Hezbollah.
Sure. I have an antithetical view to Hezbollah. However, on this
What do you
case, what I mean by that is I don't necessarily support them in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
How do you
categorize them?
I categorize Hezbollah in their response to Israel as justified in that response.
And in the response for Assad in Syria?
Clearly,
against fellow Arabs?
yeah, well, you and I both know that I have an antithetical view. I don't think that they were on the right side of history. Then I do think they were acting in.
Well, they were terrorists then?
Well, I mean, it depends on how. I think the word terrorism is a social construct.
What were they when they fought for Assad? against Arabs?
Oppressive, and that's on the record. There's no doubt about it. You can call whatever you want. But
Well, they were all the things that you would say Israel is.
when they were doing the thing with Bashar al-Assad. That is, of course, my view.
But they're only that thing when they're doing that. When they're attacking Israel, that's fine.
When they attacked Israel...
When they're attacking Arabs on behalf of Bashar al-Assad...
No, but that shows consistency.
No, hang on.
Doesn't that show consistency?
No.
Why not?
It doesn't show consistency.
It shows consistency.
The inconsistency is that you think that was bad, but when they're attacking Israel,
Okay,
that's fine.
Let's respond. On the 8th of October, you mentioned many times before in your interviews that they attacked Israel.
Yes.
They attacked Israel, right?
They did.
That's not true.
They did.
They attacked the Sheba Farms, which is occupied territory.
Which Israel has claimed as its own since 1967.
Wait a minute,
Which Israel,
occupied territory.
Which Israel has claimed as its own
See, this
since
this shows your lack of knowledge on the matter. It doesn't.
What part of what I just said is not true? They claimed it as their own since 67.
Wait, hold on. This is occupied territory, according to the UN, according to the US. It's occupied territory.
I just said Israel have claimed it as
So
its own.
what? They can claim. I can claim what I want. ISIS have made many claims.
So given Israel...
whatever Israel claims is true. Is that what we are meant to believe here?
Hezbollah has fired beyond the Sheba Farms.
Now, let me explain.
Hezbollah
The
has
Sheba
fired into
Farms
Israeli cities.
Hold on.
Israel has
Dershowitz,
they
I haven't
fired
finished
into
yet.
Haifa.
Dershowitz, I haven't finished yet.
Into North Israel, right? And the issue is that is occupied territory, as in it's like settled by settlers who shouldn't be there, They don't have a right to this. America doesn't acknowledge a right to this land, okay? And America acknowledges whatever they want. So the fact that they are just so comfortable, and they, I mean Zionists, and I have to say Zionists because what these people are doing to Jewish people is fucking criminal. I don't know how I would feel if some East African was here spying on Canada, talking about how proud they, whatever. But you're throwing things into occupied territory. Why the hell does Israel get to react to that? You shouldn't even be there.
She doesn't even go here.
Those rockets can avoid you if you go
Home. Yeah, absolutely.
What the fuck are we even talking? This is why learning about this stuff is killing me. Because what do you mean do they have I'm muted. I just realized that I was muted that whole time. So if you heard me on M the Gems mic, good. But if you didn't, what I was saying was fuck Israel. And you can't be complaining that something fell on occupied territory since you're an occupier and you shouldn't fucking be there either. Anyways. My bad. I was muted.
No.
Why not?
It doesn't show consistency.
It shows consistency.
The inconsistency is that they're all the things that you would say Israel is.
When they were doing the thing with Bashar al-Assad. That is, of course, my view.
But they're only that thing when they're doing that. When they're attacking Israel, that's fine.
When they attacked Israel...
When they're attacking Arabs on behalf of Bashar al-Assad...
No, but that shows consistency.
No, hang on.
Does that show consistency?
No.
I'm not
Why
pause
not? It doesn't show consistency.
It shows consistency.
The inconsistency is that you think that was bad, but when they're attacking Israel, that's fine.
Let's respond. On the 8th of October, you mentioned many times before in your interviews that they attacked Israel.
Yes.
They attacked Israel, right?
They did.
That's not true. They attacked the Sheba Farms, which is occupied territory.
Which Israel has claimed as its own since 1967.
Wait a minute.
Israel,
occupied territory.
Which Israel has claimed as its own since 1967.
This shows your lack of knowledge on the matter. It does.
Well, part of what I just said is not true. They claimed it as their own since 1967.
It's not lack of knowledge. He knows exactly what the fuck he's doing. He has marching orders, and it's plain as day.
So hold on, this is occupied territory according to the UN, according to the US. It's occupied territory.
I just said Israel claimed it as
so what? They can claim. I can claim what I want. ISIS have made many claims.
So given Israel,
whatever Israel claims is true. Is that what we are meant to believe here?
Hezbollah has fired beyond the Sheba Farms.
Now, let me explain.
Hezbollah
The Sheba Farms,
Israeli cities.
Hold on.
Israel has
Dershowitz, I haven't finished yet.
Haifa.
Dershowitz, I haven't finished yet. On the 8th of, you talked about the 8th of October. When they fired on the 8th of October, they fired, and you can go ahead and bring evidence that they fired anywhere else other than the Sheba Farms. They fired on the Sheba Farms. After that, there was response from Israel. And then after that, because there was response of Israel into Lebanon, then Hezbollah attacked the northern part of Israel. This is what happened. And that is justified according to international law. So on this issue, you will not find differences between Sunnis and Shias. You will not find differences in us. We are all united in the hatred of the Zionist entity.
All right, Alan, your response to that?
Well, Hezbollah has been firing rockets at Israel for years and years under the auspices of Iran. Israel has fought back and responded. And Nasrallah has called for all the Jews of the world to be brought together into Israel so that they can be taken care of at the same time in the way that Hitler took care of.
Now, I'm going to pause here because this is another fucking hypocrisy that is starting to really show its face. They're saying that they wanted to corral all of the Jewish people into Israel. Is that not what the fuck Israel's trying to do? Mm-hmm. Is Israel not trying to get all y'all to come to Israel so that you can be quote unquote safe? Because if I'm Jewish, I should leave Toronto where I'm unsafe from kafias on college campuses where LinkedIn will murk you should you even try looking for a job. And I'll be safer in a place where I hear sirens going off and I have to run into a bunker all the time because my government cannot get it together long enough to say I'm probably not in the right by oppressing these people and I should probably just stop.
Well, I'm glad you understand.
And then another thing, and this is probably the most glaring fucking thing. Sorry to pause, but it is a live stream. I'm not sorry. This is another fucking glaring thing. Christian Zionism is the biggest group of Zionists that there is. They are the most powerful, the most numerous. These are religious fanatics who believe that in order for Armageddon to begin, that a prophecy has to come true first, a prophecy that's written in the Bible. And in the Bible, it says that God's chosen people, the Israelites, will go back to the land of Israel. And when they go there, Jesus is going to come down and whoever converts, you'll be saved, but everybody else dies. That is exactly what Christian Zionism is about. When they are funding these settlements, when they are sending this money, it is explicitly for the purpose that they believe that this is going to happen. And because these people vote, okay, because then the question becomes, if most people, like, this is not a fucking widely held belief, and why is a niche group of people so freaking powerful? They vote, and that's all it comes down to. Politics was lost as soon as it became a job to be a politician and not a form of self-sacrifice to go serve your government and then go back to having a real job, okay, and be part of the community again. Now that it is a career, a cushy $200,000 to $400,000 to $600,000 a year job to sit there and not fucking pass laws or do anything, people are very encouraged, very motivated, very incentivized to get that job back by re-election. And how do you get that? You get money and you get votes. Israel has money. Christians have time. They're gonna come vote. Not all Christians, but you guys know who I'm talking about. And that's the recipe. If the rest of us would stop fucking tweeting and getting on Instagram to film videos and just go vote, all of this could be over in one election. Literally all of it. You can just say to yourself, hey, let's give Jill Stein a chance. Look, you guys south of the border and my cousins that I'm calling. I'm not joking. Sorry. Cousins. They one of them is dating somebody who says cousins.
I see.
But and I've been talking to them. And I'm like, it's not enough to say that I'm voting for the lesser evil now, because the lesser evil still includes genocide. And I don't, like, you know what I'm saying? You already lost abortion rights, and that was when Biden was around. Okay, so what is the real benefit to electing Kamala Harris? How much are you really gaining? But I don't understand, like, American psychology. The news in America is just crazy. It's crazy powerful, because I recall when Bernie Sanders went out there and said, hey, you know, I'd like to just fix your lives, give you guys some money, some health care, make sure your teeth are good. And everyone's like, fuck you. What are you, like, oh my God.
Socialist!
Look at this guy. Socialist, Marxist, fascist, communist. You know the money's there. It's your tax money. Every time you go to the register and that dollar amount is different than the tag, that's your money. And when you have, like, I never understand this with Americans, and I think that Canadians have a slightly more European sensibility in that we believe that our money needs to come right back into our pockets. Mm-hmm. Like, don't fucking spend it anywhere else. But Americans, you can just tell them that, you know, we're doing this for war and blah, 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 and just, like, feed them anything. And they will rationalize having to ration insulin, knowing that in Canada, it's free.
That concept to me is so medieval, having to pay for medication to keep yourself alive, to work a job, to feed back into an economy that does not support you in any capacity.
Why do I work? Like, what are you doing with my... And this is...
It's free labor.
And this is when, you know, like, you see those Tea Party motherfuckers and all that, like, no taxes. And then I'm like, come on, man, roads and stuff like that. But at some... Like, the roads are built. And I don't see you building new ones.
Yeah.
I don't see you fixing these potholes and stuff. Like, where's my money going?
Yeah.
And that's a real question. And if you're not doing anything with it, then let me do something with it. Because Canadian taxes are a bitch. Okay? I shopped in America once. I was heartbroken.
It do be like that.
The Jews of Europe. This is a genocidal claim by Nasrallah on behalf of Hezbollah. And certainly Israel had the right to respond to Hezbollah as they did. And, you know, you can quarrel with particular response.
If genocidal claims means you can bomb people, then Israel's open it should be open season on Israel, right? Because they've been doing nothing but like talking that shit biblically too. We all remember Amalek, okay? I didn't even know that. Look at me talking something from Hebrew, Amalek, and you know that's me too. You know, we're all goyim. Why is Sharia law a huge deal and goyims aren't?
As you can quarrel with particular responses of any country. What the United States did after 9/11 was seen by many as an overreaction. Countries react when their civilians are murdered the way they were on 9/11 and the way they were on October 7th. And Israel had the right to respond. The United States and the world said so. And Hamas could end all the suffering in Gaza.
The way he said Israel had the right to react, but they overreacted and made it sound like, okay, so your boyfriend hit you once, okay? But, like, maybe you deserved it?
You just nailed this. Like, you know when you have like an epiphany kind of moment?
Yeah.
These guys are sponsoring an abusive relationship.
They really are. They really
They're
are.
saying, yeah, he beats you, but have you just tried getting dinner ready on time?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Have you tried gussying up? Because he's said that he's not going to hit you if you can just do these things.
And the rest of us are like, this is a criminal offense.
Yeah,
Lock him up.
And then the brother comes, Hezbollah, to beat him up. And it's like, okay, well, see, now your brother's a terrorist.
Yeah.
And I have to go kill him and his entire family. And honestly, he shouldn't have come. Okay, and we're going to get right back to the abuse. I told you. I'll stop hitting you if you can just do these things. Now, I'm being civilized. Your brother's coming here to fight me?
Savages.
That's crazy. And they're going to just say, oh, I'm coming here because I'm beating up their sister. We all know that they've hated me from time. That's what they want to put down my throat. That's what they want to put down our throat. In this scenario, they're trying to say, your brother doesn't hate me because I'm beating the crap out of his sister. He hated me before, and he's using this as an excuse.
Yeah.
Am I dumb? Am I to believe that the best legal mind that Israel could produce has come on a viral talk show, and this is the best he can do? And this just shows you the power of hiding all that other information. Because for me, without context, I'm hearing Hezbollah, and I'm like, yo, what you know? Is that Allah at the end? Because what are y'all up to? You know what I mean? Hezbollah, Iran, all that. I know that you have conditioned us to be afraid of those kinds of words and sounds and pronunciations. And I know that because despite having family members called frigging Hamza and shit like that, if I hear that there's like an attack or something, I'm like, oh my God, don't let it be a Muslim. You know what I mean? Like I'm used to it, and I'm already like becoming like desensitized to Arab suffering, and I'm ashamed to admit it. But it's one of those things that it's worked on me. Hearing about it so often and all that stuff, collateral damage, reactions, all these things. These aren't words. This is them killing people so that Israel can have their way.
Instantaneously by simply releasing the hostages and putting down their arms and calling for a genuine peace rather than a tactical ceasefire that just allows them to rearm and repeat October 7th. Remember, they said they would repeat October 7th over and over again. And as Elie Wiesel once said, always believe the threats of your enemies more than the promises of your friends. And so Israel has to act
let me bring
on
back
the assumption.
If that's true, then should we not believe Israel? If it's true that you should believe your enemy's threats over your friend's promises, then what the fuck are Palestinians supposed to be doing here? Because we're being told in the West that despite me hearing that I'm going to carpet bomb them, I'm going to starve them, no electricity is going to go there, all of them are Amalek, nobody is innocent in Gaza, and then you want to come on TV and say they don't mean that, they're just mad, and they have. But if somebody who's oppressed, and I have my foot on your neck, and you so much as say, oh, this fucking, look at this terrorism. How can he talk to me like that? But you're on TV. The Hamas charter doesn't even say the stuff that it says anymore. But you know what does say something crazy? The Likud charter. And Likud is Benjamin Netanyahu's political party. And that thing fully says that Palestine won't have a state. And just the other day, Smotrich, another top official over there, said he wants Damascus.
Damascus.
Yeah.
Yo, you really don't even go here.
He wants Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and parts of Iraq.
That's crazy.
Greater Israel
That's insane.
is a poster that they have brought outside. And you're supposed to believe that people who are powerless and don't have money are an existential threat to the most advanced military in the world, who is outside telling everybody about Greater Israel, who is producing boat rides, and this is something that I fucking verified. Boat rides are going out of Israel to view the ruins of Gaza. It quells their angry spirit, and it's sold out all the time.
That's sickening.
Back in 2006 or 2014, there was documents, video documentation of Israelis going to a specific cliff where they can watch the bombs fall in Gaza.
This reminds me of Black America when they used to have
a picnic for a lynching.
No, not a picnic for a lynching. When they used to have black people in zoos and they used to literally poke and prod through cages at them.
Yeah. At that time, at least, there is the lie of education.
Yeah.
Oh, they're different. Let's go look at that. But lynchings at a picnic, picnics at a lynching was a thing. They would be like, hey, we have this black person and we're about to lynch them. So why don't we all bring the family, bring some snacks, get the kids to get the kids, okay? And they would give off like limbs sometimes. People would be like, oh, I got his hat, I got his fit. Like they would savagery.
And that's Grandpappy from down the block.
Oh, yeah, and don't worry that his grandson is on the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Because all that stuff is over now.
I'm sure none of that rubbed off.
None of it.
There's no biases that you were exposed to.
I was a kid at that picnic. I did spit on some black kids trying to go to an integrated school. I am the district attorney. But don't worry. But if Hamas says, stop killing us or else, then you're a terrorist. So I invite you to then consider the opinion that Kamala Harris is a terrorist. Because she said, if you come into my house, I have my gun. She said that. So what? Either Palestinians are not allowed to protect their family the way Kamala Harris would want to protect her family, or they're not terrorists. And
No.
the terrorists...
I'm going to stop you right there. You're right, because they're not American. They're not on American soil. And
Yeah,
that's
no.
your biggest mistake was being born Palestinian. Why would you do that?
And honestly, why can't you just give me your house? Like, you're making
Seriously,
such a big deal out of this. You're Arab. Okay, fine, Palestinian, whatever. But like...
So I shot your
Iraqis
so I
are
shot your mom.
Arabs, Jordans are Arabs, Saudis are Arabs. I know, okay, whatever. You're not from the... But you're kind of from there, like different dialect, but so just go be Arab there. We just want this little part of land. Like, you guys are giving us such grief. Yes, I get it.
Sounds mighty indigenous.
And here we are doing up a madness in Canada. By the way, I love that British slang. Oh, we're going to start saying at the beginning of our speeches exactly how we ripped you off. But we're not going to do anything else. It's not. Canada says it's not our responsibility.
Honestly, it's like my school having before every course. You know how there's a course outline. In the beginning of the course outline, they talk about how you're on indigenous land and how it's important for you to recognize that before you go to the institution. Right.
That's the new thing.
Right. Mm-hmm. But here's the ironic thing that they had a Confederate. Sorry, not a Confederate. They had a statue of.
Oh, okay. I know.
I don't want to be too specific because I'm trying.
I know the name of your thing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But if you want to give some background on...
We're talking about the fact that Canada glorifies the people who made the residential schools. We have an ugly history of pulling Native Indians, and it's not that far ago in history because a lot of these people are in their 50s or something right now.
They're actually still experiencing the same issues because of the way they've been pushed off into provinces where
into the territories. Yes. We give them their little territories in here, but they pull these kids out of their home. Like they just said, hey, little Indian, come with me. And the mom's like, where are you taking my kid? And they're like, I'm tired of you speaking all this Indian. Okay? You're going to speak English. You're going to get rid of all of this, like, so like that, all that's over.
And God forbid mom tries to say anything.
Beat down, rape, like, and then the nameless graves, the mass graves. So Canada has an ugly, and we cozy up to Nazis. So, and we cozy up to Israel. Stephen Harper was one of Israel's best friends. Best friends. Okay. It's hard to get through this because everything he says is incendiary.
That Hamas is going to try to do this again and again.
Okay, Mohammed, you've said so far, unless I'm wrong, you don't support Hamas, you don't support Hezbollah. So there's probably more bits of agreement here with Alan Dershowitz than me than you might like to admit if you don't support those two groups.
Okay, so I don't see what that's got to do with anything. We were talking about.
I said at the start I wanted to find points of agreement.
Sure.
Can we all agree that Hamas and Hezbollah are a bad thing?
I can agree that the Western man, has tried to use social constructs like terrorism to try and absolve themselves from all the things that they...
What would you call them? Hamas and Hezbollah?
Yes, pause right there.
Like
Thank you so much. And that is a point that I made earlier on too. These are all creations of the West. Nobody is analyzing the history before they're going and making ignorant comments, or they know the history and they know exactly what the script is that they have to go by. And like, come on, dude, just open up google.ca. It's not that hard.
Would it surprise you to learn that it was a whole thing when Israel was being created to have Israeli suicide bombers.
Huh?
Yeah. Blowing themselves up in cafes and shit.
¿Por qué?
Because the English were like, you're being too, like, I know you said you could have this land, but there's a process. And then the Zionist brigades were like, yeah, and the process is I take it. And then the English were like, okay, let's just talk about this. Explosion in Arab areas. And they're like, the English are like, seriously, we brought you here. We need you to just sort this out. Well, give me a minute to sort this out. And then there's a place called the King David Hotel. And we're going to get into this because I'm tired of this narrative that what's it called? Terrorism is something unique to one place.
Absolutely.
It's whatever. There's this place called the King David Hotel where some British royals, was it? Or whoever was setting up Palestine, for Israel and Palestine at the time. I don't get the, you know what? Fuck it. I can't be this vague. Why are my bookmarks always... Am I there? Am I doing it? Am I doing it? I did not do it. I'll just give you the mouse. I was just gonna, you know what? Fuck it. Whatever. I think I got it. And that's how you give up with dignity.
Agreement.
Sure.
Can we all
No. I'm just gonna
agree
Can you just...
that Hamas and Hezbollah are a bad thing?
I can agree.
I'm not going to be made a fool of. I need both hands. M the Gem took my good mic. Oh, and now she is my boom. King typed on the wrong screen. King David Hotel. Bombing. So this is Wiki, which I know is not like the source of sources, but if you would like to check out a scholarly article, I highly recommend it. But since I already have, I can attest to some of the factual stuff that's in here. British administrative headquarters for Mandatory Palestine, housed in the southern wing of the King David Hotel in Jerusalem, were bombed in a terrorist attack on July 1946 by militant right-wing Zionist underground organization. So what are we talking about here? The British left. They said, fuck this whole shit.
They just bounced?
They just bounced.
It's so funny because for people who are really into carpet bombing, they sure know a lot about underground systems.
Well, also, get this. When they went to Al-Shifa Hospital, somebody accidentally said something to Christiane Amanpour, which she tried to get them to correct because she's a fucking shill now, too. And she was like, are you sure? Because what you said is this. And then he's like, yeah. And she goes, okay, because you're saying this. And the this was that they built the tunnels under Al-Shifa before they left Gaza. Israel.
1,000% believable. Okay?
Yeah.
1,000% believable.
Yeah. So when they're like, we know it's there, we know it's there.
Yeah, bet you do, bro.
'cause you
From
made it.
experience, from
'cause
what
you
we're
made it.
learning. Yeah.
It's because you made it. So yeah, anyhow, the explosion caused the collapse of the western half of the blah, blah, blah. Controversy arose over the timing and the inadequacy of any warnings, blah, blah, blah. The British government said after that inquest that no warning had been received and blah, 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 blah. Anyhow, they dipped. They were like, fuck all this shit. I'm not dealing with this.
Not my
Arabs.
problem.
So these are your roommates.
Good luck.
They have the keys, so don't worry about needing to let them in. Actually get your own key, maybe change the locks.
They have the keys. They took the door down.
Bitch, they went there and literally canvassed the entire area to find out who would be the people that could potentially fight them the hardest. Like how many men of fighting age are there, boys, etc., 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 before they went on the Nakba killing campaign. Systematic? I don't want to use the word, but that is what it was.
Just like any human being, they can sometimes be oppressive and they can sometimes be on the right side of
Most
history.
human beings do not do what Hamas did on October the 7th.
Well, in
Most
the
human
Zionist
beings
entity,
don't
they
rape
do.
people
And they do
with
worse
They
than
don't.
that. They don't.
Israel's never committed an atrocity on that scale.
On what scale?
On that scale.
Explain. What scale?
Killing 1,200 people.
They've killed 40,000.
Sorry, in one day, massacring
they've killed 40,000.
Israelis could get their hands on, kidnapping children,
on the 23rd of September,
kidnapping Holocaust survivors, raping and abusing women, beheading people. Oh, you don't think that happened, do you?
Well, hold on. You just said raping and abusing. We just started to show with an admission that there's a problem in Israeli society, that there was...
I'm talking about Hamas.
Yeah, but you just said Israel doesn't
We
do
both condemned what you talked about earlier.
So why are you saying Israel don't do that? What's wrong with you?
I didn't say that.
You just said that now.
No, I didn't.
You said Israel...
Piers doesn't want to linger when it comes time to talk about the rape committed by Israelis, but he has time to talk about unconfirmed rapes committed by Palestinians. Right? He's like, I already said that. I condemn it. We already said that. Why are you bringing it up? Why are you bringing this up?
Raping and abusing. We just started to show with an admission that there's a problem in Israeli society, that there was...
I'm talking about Hamas.
Yeah, but you just said Israel doesn't
We
do
both condemned what you talked about earlier.
So why are you saying Israel don't do that? What's wrong with you?
I didn't say that.
You just said that now.
No, I didn't.
You said Israel doesn't do it, and then you just listed 3 or 4 things, and that was one of the things that you just
No, I
listed.
said Israel had never...
Am I speaking a foreign tongue?
Sorry, listen to what I'm saying. I said Israel never perpetrated an atrocity
I
on that
love
scale.
this energy.
In one day against the people
How many
of the Palestine. They never have.
Well, hold on. How many civilians died on October the 7th?
Civilians about 800.
Oh, sure. All right.
But hang on.
Hold on.
But nearly 7,000 more were wounded.
Sure.
7,000
What happened on the 23rd of September?
were wounded.
What happened on the 23rd of September?
7,000.
Okay, sure.
Think about that number.
Okay, no problem.
That's the scale of people who were attacked on that day.
Are we talking over each other? It's 2 on 1.
8,000 people were attacked.
No problem. On the 23rd.
One of the most horrendous terror attacks
this gonna be a monologue
in
or is it a
modern
dialogue?
history. I'm telling you some facts.
I know the facts.
I may not like it, but I'm telling you them.
One of the worst terror attacks in modern history, in a time that includes what's happening in Gaza right fucking next door, everything that's happening in the Congo, everything that happened in Syria, everything that's happening in Yemen. 8,000 injured Israelis who have free healthcare, who have been provoking the shit out of Palestinians. That is the worst thing. Okay, cool.
Okay, I'm telling you, on the 23rd of September, Israel attacked Lebanon. How many people died? How many civilians died, according to the Lebanese health, the Ministry of Health?
I believe it's about 2,000 was the last recorded number I saw.
No, in one day. On the 23rd of September.
Including combatants, including many combatants.
No, on the 23rd, how many died? How many died? Why don't we have a year commemorating the 23rd of September? Since we're having a year commemorating the 7th of October, and about 600 people died, 650 people, civilians died on that day. That's quite close, isn't it?
We don't know the civilians. They don't distinguish between
8,000
civilians and
people were attacked.
combatants.
We're not talking about attack, we're talking about dead. What's wrong with you? Why are you not looking at me again? You're crying. Are you crying?
Because the viewers are seeing the three of us together.
I see that there's tears in your eyes.
There are no tears in my eyes.
What's going on?
There's a slight sense of exasperation.
Sure, there should be. Because you are employing...
What do you think I am?
I think you said it yourself with your interview with Mehdi Hassan. I think you're just biased. You talked about tribes.
Who am I biased against?
You're biased against anything anti-Western, clearly. You said...
What a ridiculous statement.
Because you said it yourself. You said the reason why you have such and such a view with Russia...
Do you think I was biased when I led the media campaign against the Iraq war?
No, I think you were...
Was I biased against brown people then?
You were good then.
Was I? I was good then because you agreed with me.
Sure, because you're on the side of truth. Just like I could say Hezbollah was on the side of truth in 2013, but they're on the side of truth today. I can say this, and even though they're Muslims just like me, just like I can say that Hamas is wrong for doing such and such a thing, but they're right on such and such a thing. I can say all these things. You should be able to do the same thing.
What have Hamas been right about?
Resisting, because they're the occupied territory. If they had just attacked...
They were given billions of dollars in 2005 when they took charge of the...
Have they got a right to defend themselves?
Hang on.
Against military...
When they took charge of the Palestinian people and had power from 2005, they got billions of dollars. And what they did with that money was spend it on tunnels, which they built around civilians.
Sure, so what?
So that they could then launch a horrendous terror attack.
So the argument here is, once you're trapped behind a wall, and I go to the border and tell you that even though I forced you to have an election, by the way, Gaza didn't even want to have an election. The PLO didn't want to have an election. But Israel forced them to have an election, and America forced them to have an election. And then they go ahead and have this fucking election. It goes to the people who are stating the obvious, that the West is trying to fuck with us. Why wouldn't you vote in your own interest? Why would you? Whatever. However you want to look at it, they said some awful stuff and they won. Now, they've never been allowed to hold another election. The second Hamas won, they were put under a blockade. And now, what does it mean to get put under a blockade? I'm in Canada. I'm in Toronto, Canada. I go to the store, wherever store, and it's full up of stuff, right? That's because we get to trade. We get to bring things in from other countries. We get to send them our stuff. It comes by boat. It comes by air. It comes by whatever the fuck our government wants it to come by. But Israel and America said none of that for you because you elected Hamas in an election that I forced you to have. This is somebody else's country, okay? This is the infantilization of other nations. And this is something that they've been doing since the time of slavery, trying to convince you that people who aren't white can't take care of themselves. And this is something that they have to do in order to garner the consent, because regular white people chilling on the other side of the world, minding their business, going to work, are not really going to just wake up and be like, oh yeah, I'd love to just go to war, send all my kids to go die, spend all my tax money to go kill some brown people. But what if I told you this? What if I showed you a picture of them saying death to America? Oh, well, why are they saying that? Don't worry about it. They just hate us. I'm not going to tell you that I constantly topple their government. I'm not going to tell you that they tried to have an election to make life better for themselves, and I went over there and I installed a dictator for them instead. And if you're wondering what country I'm talking about like 11 countries. Okay, so when you do that to people, why are you upset that there is an anti-Western sentiment in another country? What is this weird idea that every country has to be the same, has to hold Western values, or they're a threat? What, like, this policing of other people's behavior, of other people's whatever, is sick. And I'm an openly queer person. If you were to say, oh, like, you know, they don't accept you in those countries, like you would die there. Okay, well, I'm not going to go there. And if you are concerned about what's going to happen to the people that are there, maybe work out a way to allow for immigration if you care. Huh? Maybe tell those countries, no trading with you if you don't let people who don't want to live there leave. Right? There are other ways. And whatever, I'm not a political pundit. But this is not the only way to do something. And I know that because Saudi Arabia stays cutting people's heads off. And you're fine talking to them. You're fine holding their orbs or whatever, right? I mean, there's human rights violations in Turkey, but you love them. It doesn't stop. The frigging Tiffany's is full of diamonds, and y'all know how we're getting those. So this like, spare me this fake moral outrage. There isn't going to be any respect for you if you came in the way you came in. And this whole thing about having the right to defend yourself. When Palestinians were told that half their land was being given away to a small group of people, half the land for a group of people that are way less than your group of people, the indigenous people, do they have a right to resist that? Are they allowed to have one fucking emotion about that? Can they be angry? No, that's terrorism because they're because they're brown. But when 9/11 happens and you go over there and you have all these videos of people just playing Call of Duty IRL, then that's justified. And this is what it is. Like, if I watched this video 10 years ago or something, maybe even less than that, I would, if I'm being honest with myself, I would be wondering what Mohammed is talking about. You know, like, why are you rooting for the bad guys? And I'm ashamed, but I have to admit it because I know that I'm not the only one who's coming to these realizations. I know it. And we can't be afraid to admit that we fell for this, because the longer you invest in this delusion, the harder it's going to be for any of us to get out of it. And even if you're on the wrong side for a year, but you're just learning about things, it's like, don't worry about what your social media feed says. Just, I was wrong and now I've learned it. Whatever, I didn't know before. You'll be welcomed with open fucking arms. If you guys can hear that, that's my cat demanding to get let into my other cat's room,
where he can go and steal his food, and that's not going to happen.
It's so funny because he literally finished eating his food and then just walks over there as if like, where's second dinner? Where's second breakfast? All right. We don't have a lot of time left in this. Thank friggin' goodness, because we keep pausing. We'll get better at this.
Okay. And they knew when Israel came after them. Hang on. When Israel then came after them after October the 7th, they knew, because they'd embedded themselves in the tunnels, that a lot of Palestinians would get slaughtered in the process.
My question is,
they knew they knew that the second you try to resist Israel, they're going to murder your people. Why would you resist? Mm-hmm. Just get dinner right next time.
Exactly what's
My
happening.
question to you, does Palestine have a right to defend itself? Does Hamas have a right to defend itself exclusively against military threats?
Everybody has the right to defend themselves.
So
No, they
Hamas
don't,
can do it
apparently.
against military targets.
What they did on October 7th is not self-defense. It was a terror attack.
Hold on.
It's not saying Al-Qaeda.
It's
It's not saying
not my
Al-Qaida
question.
had the right to
But
do it
that's
on
not
September.
we both agreed that the civilian death is something we should both condemn. Yeah? We're talking about areas of agreement. You just said it yourself. I'm saying now, do you agree that Hamas has the right, because they're an occupied territory, Gaza is an occupied territory, according to the UK, by the way, they're an occupied territory because of effective military control.
Thank
according
you.
to the UK,
They ended their occupation in 2005.
No, hold on.
They ended the
You're meant to
occupation
be
in 2000.
intelligent.
This is something that they teach you in frigging Hasbara training school. Hasbara is propaganda in Hebrew, I think. And that is to always say the occupation ended in 2005, when everything that I just explained to you about the blockade, about them going to the frigging border, about them locking down anything that can come into their country is exactly what happened. That's what he's talking about, ending an occupation.
You're meant to know this fact. According to the UK government, according to the US government, and you can check it up online, and according to the UN, all three organizations, Gaza is an occupied territory because there is no, because they have control over the borders, they have control of the population.
Well, I said this many times.
So sure, you agree with it. You said it recently.
Let me
I've
give you
said
the
many
facts.
times.
Let me
I
give you
believe-
He doesn't mind saying any of the October 7th stuff many times, but dare try to bring up anything Israel is doing wrong, and he wants to rush the conversation.
What we-
Let me give you the
Israel
facts,
makes-
please. Can I give you the facts?
Yes, you can respond.
Let me give you the facts.
Yeah.
Okay, the
me
facts
lie
are
to
in
you.
2005. I was there in Israel when the Israeli government
Are you sure you're not in Epstein's house?
uprooted every single civilian,
Let me just say
every
it.
single dead person.
It's
who was
only to
buried
deal with some
there.
piece of shit like
Not
that,
a
and I don't
single
care that I'm
soldier,
talking
not
over
a
him
single
because,
policeman
like,
was in
honestly-
Gaza. Gaza could have become
Might have
the
been
most
pretty
beautiful
disruptive,
spot
It could
on the
become
Mediterranean,
Singapore.
Singapore and the Mediterranean.
Everybody
Then Hamas
says that. Have
engaged
you
in a
noticed?
military coup in which
Everybody says that about Gaza. Oh, you could have made it Singapore. I'm gonna make a reel.
they murdered members of the Palestinian Authority, took over Gaza, and started sending rockets into Israel. It was only then that Israel began to control the borders and make sure that tunnels couldn't be built. They failed in that respect, that weapons couldn't be brought in. Gaza was...
According to this guy, Shawshank Redemption should have just ended with a nice poster on the wall to decorate the prison instead of trying to get out. Because you could have made it look nice in there. You didn't have to try to leave.
was not an occupied territory. It was a free territory between 2005 and the time that Hamas took over. And so
So is
the
it occupied
fault
now? No.
all
Is it
lies
occupied
with
now? According
Hamas
to you, is it
for
occupied now? No.
creating a
Is
territory
Gaza an
in
occupied
which
territory right now, or is it
Hamas
not?
imprisoned.
He's not answering my question.
It's not
though.
an occupied territory.
It's not. Okay. Is it an occupied territory according to the UN, the UK, and the US? Yes or no? It's a factual statement.
Not the U.S. The U.S. doesn't
No,
agree
it does.
with that. You're wrong about that. The U.S.
That's why.
doesn't agree with
That's
that.
why you've had
No,
to
it doesn't.
plagiarize books in order to
No.
make your case from John Peters.
Wait,
and
what are you saying again? Say it again.
You out. You've had to plagiarize books because you're clearly your knowledge on this
Okay,
issue.
well, now we have another-
for your
now we
age
have
is
another count.
ridiculous.
Now I'm
According to the
gonna
US,
see you
Gaza,
again.
the West Bank,
We
and
have
East
another, wait a
Jerusalem
minute. We have
are
another
an
count in
occupied
the
territory.
lawsuit against you. You've accused me of plagiarism, even though Harvard University conducted a thorough and complete
I
study,
just do
totally
it.
vindicated
If you're
me,
gonna do
and
that,
blamed it on
University.
Finkelstein,
I believe
who then
according
lost
to
tenure
Norman
for
Finkelstein,
making a
in your
false
debate
charge against
on
me of
democracy
plagiarism,
now,
but
you
you're repeating
plagiarized
that
John
charge.
Peters'
Count
book.
two.
No problem. That's according to
What?
Norman
I plagiarized
Finkelstein,
my own
who
book?
debated you on Democracy Now. You plagiarized that book, and he showed you evidence in that debate. That's one thing. The second thing is
The
it's an
Harvard University
it's an
did a thorough
occupied-
study, found out that Finkelstein
matter.
had
It
made
doesn't
up
matter.
Let him
charges.
respond. You're not gonna
As
make
a
these
result,
allegations.
he
Alan can
lost
respond.
his position as a professor, but you've accused me of plagiarism.
We talked
Count
about this. I'm
two
not
in the
gonna talk
civil
again, but we talked about this.
workplace that I will
Look,
be
I'm ready.
filing against you.
I know defamation laws in this country.
You
So
clearly
you know.
don't.
Yes, I do, because
And
I've
you
had 4
clearly
cases.
don't.
I've had 4 cases. And moreover, and I've
here
been
comes
the person
Piers
taking
to
the
the
other before,
rescue.
including your good friend Douglas Murray, which I've got 2 cases against him. But what I'll tell you is that you probably know nothing about defamation law, just like you have nothing, no information, no knowledge, no peer-reviewed journal on international law. You're completely dumb on these issues, because if you're
I've
saying to
written
me...
55 books. I've written 55 books,
doesn't
many of
matter.
them
It's not
private
history.
books.
You're not
I've
authority
gotten
in
all
international
kinds
law.
of
Are you an authority in
awards,
international law?
and
Are
I
you a
have
scholarly
won
authority in
defamation
international law?
cases,
Are you a
and I'm
scholarly
an
authority in
authority on the
international law?
First
All right,
Amendment.
we're going around the houses.
Get
Let me
him.
ask you this. One of the many problems I have with what Israel's been doing in terms of the scale of what it's been doing, but also what has been going on the West Bank with the increased settlements, very aggressive expansion of
agree.
settlements, I think is completely outrageous.
I agree.
But once
I
again,
agree.
you said
I
before...
agree.
We all
I'm
agree on that.
opposed to
Yeah, we can,
Israel's-
but-
Well,
I
Alan's
am
agreed on
opposed
that.
to Israel's policies on the West Bank. I think Israel...
So what's happening in the West Bank is they're stealing land. They go there. What's a settlement? Some zealot goes and says, I'm stealing this person's house. I bought it from, mind your own business, doesn't have to come from you. I bought it from somebody. Oh, what? That's your great-great-great-grandfather buried back there? Fuck, this is mine now. And then in order to make sure that that snivelly piece of shit doesn't have to deal with any drama from the people he has just usurped from their fucking home, they send the military there to defend him and quote unquote keep the peace. But we've seen what that's like. They're shooting peacekeepers. They're not trying to keep the peace. They're shooting peacekeepers from America, from Canada, from Europe, everywhere. And so these fucking piles of actual human garbage get to go and steal somebody's house and land, and then the military will come there and create a checkpoint around them so that they can walk around. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but there's oftentimes a kid in your school, the school, a neighborhood, wherever, who himself or herself is powerless, but they have an older brother or sister, a big Mandy, if you have seen Dairy Girls, okay? And you can't mess with this kid. Not because you can't take this kid out, but their brother is gonna come get you. And and then this kid just comes and takes your stuff, beats up your mom, and if you do anything, his brother is wanting to, just dying for, he's dying for it. He's dying for it. He's dying for an excuse to come over there and murk you, because then it wouldn't be anything to defend them against. Because the people who were the problem, and again, the problem is that, you know, why can't you just like get out of this house peacefully? They won't be there. They'll be dealt with. There'll be collateral damage in a terrorist attack against a settler. And Piers Morgan thinks that it's awful. It's awful that that stuff is happening. But that doesn't give Palestine any sort of right to try to fight back, because that's savagery. Fuck this.
Should continue a military occupation of the West Bank, just like I thought it should have continued a military.
Listen to this, Em.
You said before,
we all agree on that.
I am opposed to Israel's policies on the West Bank. I think Israel should continue a military occupation of the West Bank, just like I thought it should have continued a military occupation of Gaza. But I'm opposed and have been opposed to civilian settlements since 1967. And I'd like to see them ended in a process that leads to a two-state solution. By the way, I'm curious whether my fellow guest here supports the right of Israel to exist as the nation state of the Jewish people alongside a Palestinian state. Do you agree that Israel has the right to exist as the nation state of the Jewish people? Yes or no?
Why? No.
In 2002,
No. If you want a nation state, build it yourself. Build it yourself and see what happens. And if your neighbors don't like it, then guess what? You can't have it. There's an HOA. Okay? Like, what do you mean? Do we have the right to do ever? You know how many people have been genocided? You know how many people have been holocausted? Nobody just has the right to go get to just get a country. So if that's the case and you want to do it by force, the fucking sickening entitlement to make us make it happen for you, because people have the nerve to say that we don't want a state here where people have different rights if they're not Jewish, where your shadow can't touch a street because it's sterile and just for Jews. But we'll import all the labor. Yeah. We don't do stuff on Sundays. We'll import all on Saturdays or whatever. We'll import all the labor.
2002, not just Hamas agreed to this, by the way, in what's called the Arab Initiative. The Arab
Convention. They didn't.
Hold on, you've just asked me a question. You've asked me a question. You can check me. You can fact check me. In 2002, there was something called the Arab Convention. And in fact, Iran itself was part of it, even though it's not an Arab country, but it was part of the 2002 Arab Convention. And they both said, so long as Israel does not occupy Gaza, it does not occupy the Golan Heights, and it does not occupy the West Bank, which you just advocated for, then there can be a two-state solution. Even Hezbollah mentioned the same thing.
That's totally
Hezbollah
false.
mentioned this point.
That's totally false.
Hezbollah mentioned this, and Iran agreed with it. And members of the IOC agreed with it. Hold on. Members of the IOC.
Have they recently recognized Israel's right to exist? Has Iran recognized Israel's right to exist now? I'm not talking about 10 years ago. I'm talking about now. Does Hezbollah, Hamas, and Iran recognize Israel's right to exist as the nation state of the Jewish people?
Anna, let me ask you the other thing that I find really difficult, and Thomas Friedman wrote a very good column for the New York Times today, which I read just before we started this, basically saying that Israel seems to have no plan for what happens after this. And in fact, the UAE, who've normalized relations with Israel, has already offered to go into Gaza at the end of this war, in Gaza, and to help build a coalition to rebuild Gaza and get the people back on track.
I agree.
But Netanyahu is refusing to countenance that. He's refusing to countenance the idea of a two-state solution. You know, I've said for a while, I think Netanyahu is becoming a massive problem in this. And it's also hard, as Thomas Friedman said, to avoid the conclusion that Netanyahu is acting in self-interest, because the more he's been attacking Hezbollah, the more popular he's grown. Secondly, he has these corruption charges awaiting him the moment this is all over. There's no incentive, actually, for him right now to try and bring peace anywhere. And he doesn't really sound like a man who wants to bring peace anywhere.
He didn't accept it in 2002.
Let Alan respond to that.
Why should he respond twice?
I would like to see a resolution of Gaza much.
This whole bullshit of, Netanyahu. All of them want this.
It's like the resolution of Nazi Germany after the Second World War, a Marshall Plan, an effort to...
By all of them, I mean Israelis. Because, again, that doesn't mean Jews. Like Biden said, you don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist.
Rebuild it. An attempt to occupy what happened in Germany was occupied by 4 countries: France, Russia, Britain, and the United States. I would like to see a rebuilding of Gaza. I think the people of Gaza are entitled to a Hamas-free government. perhaps even a democratic government. I would like to see that on the West Bank. I am a strong supporter of a two-state solution in which Israel can live in peace. That's all Israel has ever wanted since 1948, when it was attacked in a genocidal war. 1967, 1973. All Israel wants to do is live in peace. And if Israel can live in peace with a Palestinian neighbor that's peaceful, that would be my dream.
What is wrong with that? What is wrong with that as an ambition?
Well, he said all Israel wants to do is live in peace. And I think what Israel wants to do is have pieces of other people's land. And as he's just agreed a second ago, and you didn't even challenge him on it, which I find quite incredulous actually, is that he said, I think that the West Bank should be military occupying Israel should be military occupying the West Bank. He says that.
Absolutely.
Now, occupation.
Of course, as long as there's belligerency, there should be an occupation.
Why are you interrupting me? I've let you speak for a very long time. I've let you speak for a very long time. Now you're interrupting me. I didn't give you permission to interrupt me. I didn't give you permission to interrupt me in this
manner.
Let
him up, bro. I'm tired of his shit.
What I'm saying to you is, according to international law, there cannot be occupation of one sovereign nation over another. It doesn't seem like you care about international law. What do you mean? Yeah,
wrong. No, you're just wrong.
Okay, just be quiet
United States occupied Japan. United States occupied Germany. Great Britain occupied Germany. You can have a military occupation as long as there is belligerency that continues.
Pretend I'm Epstein, your former friend, and be quiet and listen to what I have to say. Yeah?
Oh my God.
Whether the United States of America did it or not is not an indication of the legality of something. Occupation
it's legal.
Occupation is by
military occupation is legal while belligerency continues. Okay. That's the law.
Are you going to be quiet? I've let you speak for about 3 or 4 minutes uninterrupted. He asked you 2 questions, and I've stayed quiet. Are you okay? I'm saying that military occupation of one sovereign nation over another is not something that international law accepts because it contravenes the
False. You're false.
So give me the evidence to the contrary. I'm waiting for it.
It's clear that every country that has had a war has occupied the losing country until belligerency is over. Once belligerency is over, as it was in Germany and Japan, 2 or 3 years after the war, the occupation ended.
So why
that's
is that,
what happens.
If you're saying
military occupation is permissible as long as there's belligerency. Civilian occupation is not.
If what you're saying is true, why have the organs of the United Nations condemned the occupation of Israel? Why? The ICC,
they have condemned the civilian aspects of the occupation. They have condemned the building of settlements, which I also condemn. I'm talking about a military occupation designed to keep the peace.
Stop it, Mohammed, for goodness sake. It's pathetic.
Why is it pathetic?
Attacking lawyers for defending people is so pathetic.
Being proud of it, yeah.
Of all the ad hominem attacks you could use, it is the least effective and the most embarrassing.
You're defending him too much today.
I think Epstein was a disgusting human being.
So he's proud of defending him. Do you condemn him for that?
Well, I just don't care. I'm talking about Israel.
You don't care now, but why is it disgusting?
I'm talking about Israel.
Pierce does not care if you condemn somebody who is supporting a convicted rapist and sex trafficker, but demands that you condemn fake imaginary rapes.
There is just something so unbecoming when a host acts like this, when they're getting way too emotionally involved in a debate, because again, I've said this like 4 times now, this is not about your emotions, this is about the facts. And if you're gonna get so involved in it like that, then maybe you should not be here.
I need you to type Pierce walks off interview. I need you to type it in, okay? Because this just reminded me of something. Do it. Yeah, there was. Good morning, whatever.
I can't see anything.
Because of your previous relationship with Meghan Markle,
remember how I told you that Meghan Markle rejected this guy? And then he got so emotional because there was truth to what was being said, and look at how he reacted. And then tell me what you noticed about how he's reacting with this.
I didn't have a relationship with Meghan Markle. You met up with her, you knew her.
I knew her briefly.
Right, Piers Morgan stormed off the set of his own morning show after a colleague called him out for his tirade against Meghan Markle and Prince Harry following for vicious relationship with Markle.
Absolutely.
Look at this.
She's entitled to cut you off if she wants to.
At that point, Piers is seen and heard abruptly leaving the set.
Okay, I'm done with this.
No.
Sorry. Sorry.
Do you know what? That's pathetic.
You can track him, maybe not mine.
No.
See you later.
I'm being...
Sorry.
So Pierce, I'm recognizing a lot of these same attitudes, if you will, and I think that's
where
my
he's proud of defending Epstein.
What's this got to do with Israel?
This has got to do with the fact that this man, the credibility of this man is on the line. He defends Israel on the one hand, just like I can say that Hamas is wrong for doing such and such a thing, but they're right on such and such a thing. I can say all these things. You should be able to do the same thing.
What have Hamas been right about?
Resisting, because they're the occupied territory. If they had just attacked,
they were given billions of dollars in 2005.
State of the Jewish people alongside a Palestinian state. Do you agree that Israel has the
not just
Israel has already offered to go into Gaza at the end of this war? But
Germany, you can have a military occupation. Belligerency continues.
Okay, you something that of the Israel. Why? The ICC,
they have condemned the civilian aspects of the occupation. They have condemned the building of settlements, which I also condemn.
What
I'm talking about a military occupation designed to keep the peace.
Oh, you don't care now, but why is it discussed?
I'm talking about Israel and the Middle East.
Okay, so let's go back to the point. He was just advocating occupying the West Bank, Israel occupying the West Bank. We got to the point where he was saying that's acceptable. I'm saying that if that's acceptable from an international law perspective, then you would expect the ICC and the ICJ and these organs of the United Nations to agree with him on that assessment. They have not agreed with him on that assessment. No, even the United Kingdom doesn't agree with him on that assessment. The national position on the occupation of Gaza and the West Bank is that it's illegal. It's effective military control. So you don't know what you are talking about. And if that was possible, if it's okay for one nation, a sovereign nation, to go ahead and occupy another one, then sorry to say, Russia and Ukraine. Russia and Ukraine, the same thing. The same.
So what you're saying, your position is that when a country is attacked and it wins the war, it must leave the next day. No country has ever done that. You continue the military occupation until all belligerency ends.
Many of the conventions that were put in place,
once all belligerency ends in the Gaza Strip, the occupation should end.
Okay.
There should not be civilian settlements.
So it's a fallacy.
There should be a military attempt to control belligerency. That's the
law. You
law.
asked me your position, and then you've.
Well, he tries to answer you, but once again, you shouted over him, so people can't hear the answer.
Wait, do you agree with him?
It's not about whether I agree with him or not. Let the man answer your question.
Do you agree with him?
You think we're going to watch the whole thing?
Is it okay for one country to occupy another sovereign nation? Is it okay?
Do you know what? It's okay.
Yes or no?
I'm done.
Oh, you give up?
Yeah, I'm exhausted. I need a break and a cup of tea. Alan, thank you for your patience. I asked you to have a
My
civilized
pleasure.
debate. You tried
Shut.
Thank you for
being communication
Of course.
on a very personal and ill-informed way.
Shut up.
Yep.
This is me losing an argument with my parents. So I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. I'm going to my room.
This is him walking off set. Do you get what I'm trying to show you here?
I can't. I genuinely can't.
Because I'm telling you, something here was true. Something here was true.
Josh should go freaking play the lottery, dog.
Way you have managed to be civilized. Mohammed,
I'm sure you're going to say that. He's your friend. He's a good friend.
I like Alan. I respect Alan.
Stop right here.
And you, Mohammed, let yourself down today.
Stop right here.
I'm sure the people that follow you on
He's a monster.
cheering you on.
He's a monster.
No, he's not.
He's not. Okay.
No, he's not.
Okay, he defended a monster. You agree
The
with
only
that?
person who's behaved
Did he defend the
only
monster?
person who's behaved in a monstrous way in this
Okay, whatever.
is you.
I was trying to
Bad, 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 bad.
Stupid. How come he didn't have this energy when Rabbi Shmuley was here talking up the whole time and yelling?
And that's the question, Em. That's the question. Does he have leverage on you? Does he have leverage on you, Piers? This is how you come. Because if you're going to be ridiculous and I don't know what other word there is for it, but if you're going to be this stupid when you come after Palestine, why should you be met with any sort of civility? We are talking about people who are saying it's okay to murder babies even though there's another way out of this. And we're supposed to what? Two sides it? Be civil about it? Absolutely not. This is a masterclass in how to troll trolls. And I tip my hat to this man. I don't agree with him on a lot of things. But as this tragedy, this genocide has taught me, there are a lot of people who think a lot of fucked up things, but can look at this situation and say, oh, yeah, that's wrong. And it feels weird to align with them on this one issue, however small it may be. But, I mean, it is what it is. He killed it. Credit where it's due. Anyhow, nothing much happens after this. He's just going to walk off the interview. This stream has been going on for a while. We are late for dog walks, so I'm going to shut it down. Thank you so much for sticking around and viewing. We will try to clip this up so that people can see some of the funnier parts because, again, it's important to get this shit out there, isn't it?
Yeah, and can you guys please let me know in the comments if anybody's stuck around? If you're in the woods and you're being chased by a predator, are you rubbing your own shit or another animal's shit on yourself to disguise yourself, or are you doing something else entirely?
And just to clarify one point there, the smearing of fecal matter onto your body would completely neutralize the threat. So
it would confuse it. You don't know for sure that it's going to entirely neutralize the threat.
You can rewind to the beginning of this video. We set out the parameters. So no one's rubbing shit on themselves for like a 30% chance. Actually, you know what? 30%.
All I'm saying is I feel confident if there's a lone wolf and a lone coyote. I don't feel confident with a bear.
You don't feel confident with a fucking centipede.
That's not true at all. You know that my bug killing game is on point.
It's coming up. Thank you for tuning in to Breaded Captivity. See you on the next one.